Kia ora koutou and welcome to another episode of Full Credit. I am, of course, Alice Soper, and with me, as always, who is it? It's Les Elder. How are you doing, Les?
Kia ora everyone. Good, Alice. Just got back from Auckland, actually, after yesterday's very entertaining game, Blues versus Paua. So, yeah, excited to get into this potty today to talk about all things yesterday, but also what's coming in a week's time.
Absolutely. Now, I mean, look, we are going to give you, the analysis of this week, but we want to spend more time amping up the big things to come, because at this point, while we could dissect and dive into all the ins and outs of the Paua and the Manawa, they don't get to play. They don't get to play again, so let's focus on those that do. So, of course, the two games that were played yesterday, the first one being the Matatū versus the Manawa. We had a halftime score there of 14-10 to the Manawa, and they managed to bring it home. Very exciting for you, I'm sure, Les. That was 28-22, the final score. What did you make of that one?
Oh, it was such a fast-paced, entertaining game. I also want to commend or give full credit to the commentators, because I thought the hype from Sui, from Chouse, from Ken just made that as well. It made it a real enjoyable experience to watch. But the girls that were playing, especially Manawa, extremely happy that they got the win. I was so happy for Kennedy that they got the win, but also just to instill, and maintain some of the pride in that jersey. Entertaining game.
You knew it was a game that Uncle Ken was enjoying. He used to coach me at club level, and before games, he would tell us his pep talk was always, rip their faces off and shove it up there. So you knew he was calling it because he was so excited about some of the big hits that were going on there, because there were a lot of them across the park. Oh yeah, he would tell you to go to Mitre 10 and aisle 12, pick up a can of Harden Up. Like, he was old school. He used to make you, if we made a mistake of smiling after we'd done a running block, we'd run again. Like, he was old school, lots of fun. But yeah, he was having a lot of fun seeing the big hits out there. I mean, we were too. It was fantastic. And the pace, you have to say, for a game that had 2 yellows, so we had 2 players off, and they still managed to keep that tempo going, and both teams scored while they were a player down. None of it made sense.
And typical of Matatū, just keep clawing back, like made it a full 80-minute, oh gosh, are they going to cause an upset here? It's like come back and cause an upset. But Manawa, I just thought, yay, thank you for putting on a display of rugby that we can all enjoy, that we know you've all been capable of. You can't help but go, why has it taken, last moment sort of kick up the bum to pull out that performance, but at least those girls got to finish their way.
And look, full credit as well to Matatū. They had, 2 big injuries in the first 5 minutes, because Lucy Jenkins and Marcel Parks going down. So you suddenly had to pull people into the match much earlier than they wanted to, for a team that has now been priding themselves on the back 20. And a lot of that is to do with how they manage that interchange. Well, all those plans go out the window. So I thought, again, resilience is the word. You love using balance for the Blues. I will keep using resilience for Matatū. They showed a lot of it again yesterday, even though didn't quite get there. The resilience, though, was also on display from my Paua. I'm not going to sigh this week, guys. I'm not going to sigh.
Hey.
Okay, so we still didn't win. Like, don't get me wrong. But it was 21-14 at halftime, and it was a much closer to performance to the one we saw them put on against the Matatū a couple of weeks ago, which was when you could start to see, actually, you could see how this team could come together, and you could see how a little bit more polish, a little bit more time, and they would be right in there. So, holding these favourites of the competition to within, 7 at that break, great stuff. And yeah, look, it did what we expected in terms of blowing out at the back end. So, when you've got, 4 Black Ferns, I think it was, the Blues had on their bench, that they could bring on, it made the difference. The final score there was 49-26. But given that round 1 was, 50-10, they'll be happy with that improvement for sure.
Absolutely. And I mean, I seen some of the social media content from the girls afterwards, which I have to say, you have the best number ones in the game. Gosh, they look beautiful in those island dresses. But there's obviously a good team culture there. There's a real sense of love and care there. I just hope that maybe come next year, we start to see some girls come home to the Paua. That could really boost their depth. But they've just got to start fresh, and they should be proud of the performance that they put out there, because they have definitely, they've had it the hardest.
And to be honest with you, like I said, I don't know. I was worried about how they were going to pick themselves up into this one, because, yeah, okay, you can say, oh, nothing to lose and everything to gain. But it's like, yeah, but also when you've been kind of kicked every week, it can be pretty hard to put another one out there. So, yeah, the full kaha that they bought yesterday was really exciting to see, and you just go, okay, but please, everyone catch pass drills in the off season. All right, that's what we're going to be doing. Says me.
It's the bread and butter of the game.
Says me on the sideline doing nothing. But you know, I'll run at you if you want. I'll make myself available. Anyway, let's have a look then about how that action shaped up our Inform 15 of the week. Now, number one for me is going to go to the prop that didn't expect to be on for that long at all, because that early injury to Marcel Parks, all of a sudden Pip Love, 75 minutes she played yesterday. Now, you don't see that from props at this level, because that loading is not at all how you want to be maximising performance. These days, 60 at a push, you know, maybe 65 if the game is tight, but to be asking 75 and also knowing it had to be, because there's a different thing, which is like milking those minutes, which I have done. I'm going to put my hand up as a club coach. I've milked those minutes out of my front rows as long as I can get it, but it's a different one where you have no backup. They had no backup, having Pip pulled on, and she did what she needed to. She grinded out. She got some good numbers there. You know, she's always she got the highest carries of everyone. Not surprising, given she was on there the longest. You know, 13, and managed to get 22. She's a good grinder. She did what they needed to, and that's the type of heart, right, that they needed on display.
Yeah, and there's probably, when you think about the mental strength needed to go, okay, I've got 75 minutes to play. I need to last because I've got no other option, no substitute to bring me off. There's no one better than an experienced veteran like Pip Love to slot into that position. So, yeah, great week. Great work.
Yeah, stoked for her, and did message her today. And good news is, team, she's feeling great. She says, I know they don't give us this many minutes anymore, but maybe they could. So, Whitney, she's asking for more next week. All right, so then at hooker, we had a bit of a showdown this week, I think, between the two that were having a crack, which was Georgia Ponsonby and Vicky Rose Green. Now, Georgia, of course, did what she always does best. She was particularly strong on attack, 10 carries, 3 defenders beaten during those carries and 43 metres gained there. Defensively, pretty good. 13 tackles made and 4 missed. She won a turnover and she stole a line out. All of those things are great. But Vicky Rose Green, this was a really big match for her. You have to give her props there, don't you, Les?
Yeah, you definitely do. And I thought, she was quite busy. Where I was probably impressed with Vicky Rose Green was what she was doing on the edges of the field. And often I've seen her and Jade Coates out wide distributing. They're having to put people into space out wide, and maybe that's their game plan, because they're often seen out there. But she had 13 carries, 10 metres gained, made 12 tackles. She actually made 3 turnovers, which I did notice. The thing I didn't notice was the 3 turnovers that she conceded. So sometimes that's through handling errors or just turning the ball over in the ruck, that sort of thing. And that's quite a significant number. So I would say because of that, Georgia Ponsonby got on top of her this
Just
week.
the edge. It was close, though. And like I say, given that Vicky Rose Green, she's been in there. I've said it a number of times. I'm surprised that Luca Connor hasn't got more minutes there. But, hey, she made the case for why she should be the starter for the Manawa this week. So fair play to her. But, Georgia, congratulations. You're in there. Number 3, is it any surprise? It's our favourite again, Les.
Vaisania, our favourite. She's like our P-dub-dub, Portia Woodman-Wycliffe, who gets a mention nearly every week as well, but deservingly so. And what we've seen traditionally from Vay is her big carry game. I think we've talked about this is what we seen yesterday was her ball playing ability. Like, she was throwing long balls, she was taking the ball to the line and then putting people into space at the point of contact. She is a special player, and Oh, I can't wait for Pack 4, man.
Honestly, and you can't wait for Pat 4 with the assumption she's the bolter in there. Because remember too, this is like, what is this? This is her first season at Aupiki. I feel like I had to just check that in myself because that felt like a lie. Because I've been used now to saying her name for so long. But yeah, the distribution, but also the defense. 19 tackles, none missed. Like, that is the level that you need. And yeah,
it's mahi.
Chris passed me. Honestly, I had to go and check the stats twice because I was sure she had a try assist. It didn't come up on the stats, but I felt like I saw at least one where maybe technically the ball might have not been out of her hands last, but she was the one with the draw and pass timing that created the overlap outside. So again, exciting to watch. Yeah, give her a call, Bunce. If you don't, we'll be shocked, honestly. Number 4, look, it was a big day for my mate yesterday, Jackie Patia Ferretti. Huge day in announcing that was going to be her last for the Canes. I mean, look, I will say, Les, she has done the classic thing of, I'm pretty sure she's told me she was going to retire a couple of times. And then another season. But look, she's made it official because it went up on all the socials, and obviously she had the post-match interview with you. So she's definitely hanging up the boots, and man, she put in a heck of a match for her last one. Made a lot of tackles, 14 of them, only missed one. She was carrying well. She also, a little bit naughty, picked up a couple of penalties, but that's how I know that Jackie's right into a game, because she's all type of fizzed up. Ultimately, though, Maya Roos, nobody can touch her. She's just, the standards and the work rate that she's putting out there is immense. So she is our in-form player of the week. But Jackie, we want to give you the flowers because what a servant of the game she has been.
Oh, and I mean, I got the privilege of interviewing her post-game yesterday and just touched on her career, 20 years of service plus the time that she has represented the Pride since 2006, made the Black Ferns in 2012. This is a woman who is given to not only the game of rugby, but the area, your guys' area, the Wellington area. But I mean, mate, you are the one that probably knows her better than anyone. You've played with her. You just told me that you played with her at secondary school. Like, give us some insight. Give us some insight on what this woman has achieved and the type of person she is.
We played Wellington Secondary School reps together. Now, this would have been way back when. This is a team that actually, we had quite a few. Except me, who went on to higher honours. We had Jackie, obviously, who played for the Black Ferns, but also her locking partner, and who they played a lot together, Sunita Lavave, who also up there, of course. We also, in that team, there was Kat Simpkins, little Kat. She started with us there. I remember we roomed together. She was very quiet. It was useful. And we had... Who else? Oh, Nele Hake and Oniata Schwalga, who both ended up playing for the Wallaroos. But Jackie...
I played with Nele. Yeah,
she's a good Wainui girl too. So Jackie played out of Wainui at the same time. So just, yeah, a huge whānau here in Wainuiomata. That's where she had started her club. I believe that was her first club. And then Petone has been a big part of it too. We won a couple of championships together at Wainuiomata. The most fun one, I think, was in 2016 when her lovely husband, Fred, was our head coach. And they got married that year and we'd won the trophy, the local one, and they just changed it because back in the day, the old... then Victoria Tavern Trophy was one of those old school ones with the posts. So you had to be pretty, use a little bit of ingenuity if you wanted to try and drink through it. Like you had to kind of wedge a bottle. Like it wasn't for that. They then replaced it with a more traditional bowl shape, and we won it the first year it was one of those. And so, of course, we took the trophy to their wedding in Hawaii, and it was on the altar as they got married. So Jackie walked up to that trophy, so good, and we had a table of us at the wedding. There was a number of, and I think this again speaks to Jackie, there was actually a number of different club members that were there, so it wasn't just our team, and we all made sure to bring our rugby socks. We took a photo together on that one too, but filled the trophy up with blue Hawaiians afterwards. Had a great night with that one. Who she is as a person though, I think the most... Like, the thing I will always remember the most from her would have been in the lead up to that last World Cup. And, she was always pushing herself hard. She hadn't written herself off as being involved in that campaign. But when that news came that the World Cup was delayed, now for some people that meant great things and it gave them more time to get ready and stuff. For Jackie, she kind of knew that meant that it was a bridge too far for her in terms of what her body could handle and what she could do. But I'll never forget, because the day that news dropped, we had a club training that night. And so she would have had that news, been processing that news that World Cup dream was over. And she turned up and she smoked all of us in the Bronco test that night. But that was her, right? Like, she was always one of those players that understood her role in the bigger game, and that, okay, I can't get this for me in this space, so I'm going to give to me in this other space. And I know, like, as much as she will now, hang up her boots, she'll be picking up a whistle. Fred has been a fantastic coach in the women's space, her husband, for a number of years, and Jackie has been in his ear. So those two working together will be a formidable group, or just Jackie on her own. So she's got so much still to give, and it's going to be exciting to see where she takes it.
Oh, that is so beautiful. It's cool hearing a little bit more about Jackie off the field. Love the wedding story, but I must say too, good marriages are built on the love of rugby.
Absolutely. No, oh yeah. Jackie, hard case. She'd also be like, please don't talk about me for that long. She is. It always made me laugh that she was captain, because she hated talking. Like, she was a lead by example through and through. But she's got so much, like, as much as she hated it, she was so good at the post-match stuff yesterday. I couldn't believe she remembered to thank sponsors in her own farewell. How good's that? Oh, yeah. Gosh.
Great. Humble leader.
Massively so. Exactly what you want if you're a young player and aspiring to be. Those are all the true kind of, I don't know, markers of leadership that you should be aspiring to. Okay, back to the Inform 15.
Full credit
to Jackie. Yeah, we love you, mate. This one, I think, is... now, look, it would have been a lot tighter, because China Hohepa yesterday had a heck of a game. She made 14 tackles and missed none of them. She carried 6 times, and during that time she managed to beat 2 defenders that had a clean break. She gained 32 metres. She won a turnover. But then she was a naughty guy. And we were having a conversation about this before, Les, because, look, if you're a listener to this podcast, you know, we have let it slide if you've got a yellow card, but I think the line we have drawn there is if it's a team card, so if it's a hot potato and you're the one that's left holding it when the music stops, we might let that slide. But when it's a personal foul, I don't think we can overlook that.
And of the nature that this one was, while there is an argument that Pip Love was definitely provoking her, we can't be kicking heads.
And, like, did China mean to? She wasn't looking at the time. I don't know, but, like, bro, come on. We can't. We can't
reward that, China. We can't reward that.
I love her as a player, because honestly as well, like, talk about the versatility she has brought this season. She's covered both lock and back three like easy. Hasn't missed a beat in either of those positions. But yeah, sis, sorry, you're disqualified. Your personal foul disqualified you. So it's Mama Vaipulu, who honestly, like, she also, as per, had a great game. 8 lineouts she took for her team. I think there were only 11, so that's like a really high percentage that they're throwing to her. She made 12 tackles, she only missed 1, 13 carries, 1 defender beat in 33 metres. So, look, and the try, of course, let's not forget that. So, yeah, great game by her, fantastic game by China. You are disqualified, so congratulations, Mama Vaipulu, you make it in. Nice. Number 6, this one was easy. It's going to go to a player from your team, Liz. Tell me about Grace Kukutai.
Yeah, Grace Kukutai takes our number 6 this week. And, I mean, she did some really effective stuff. She's really quick off the mark. She surprised me when she got there. It was almost an untouchable, she was almost untouched when she went through for that try she scored. Gas Kaianipia there. But, yeah, she looked up, seen Pip Love, and took on that space. And why not? She's probably one of the fittest in the competition. I'd love to know what her Bronco was at the start of this year. Maybe she'll tell us. But Yeah, she did really well. Grace, 3 lineouts, 1, made 17 tackles, only missed 2. 8 carries. Of those 8 carries, she made 38 metres, beat 4 defenders and 1 clean break, which led to a beautiful try. 1 turnover and 1 conceded, but was the clear standout 6 across the competition for us.
She did pick up 2 penalties, but honestly, sometimes I almost put that as an asterisk on flankers because I feel like loose forward, you've got to play right up to that line. So if you have no penalties, I almost feel like that's a mark against you.
And that's probably why I don't even talk about it, because I'm like, what's a penalty for a Lucy?
It's all on the way to greatness, you know. We also had a more of a battle though, and this was the same battle as last week. You know, we had put it to you, and ultimately you, our listeners, had voted last week that it was Taufa Basin who was the 7 of the week, and she was right in the mix again this week, and we were looking at her numbers against the old dog Kennedy Tukuafu, and it's so interesting looking at these two because again, if you're watching the games, Taufa is just so exciting. Like, she is just so exciting. When she gets the ball, you're worried, particularly when she's playing your team. There was a great pushy shove moment that happened between her and Eleanor Plumking yesterday, which cracked me up. I was like, that's such a Matatū mates having a little Barney on the ground there. She had a great game. It was a case of she picked up 2 turnovers for her, good on her, and a try, of course. 8 carries, 2 defenders beaten, 1 clean break, 85 metres gained. But Kennedy, she was on one yesterday. I mean, if ever there was a player that had a point to prove yesterday, it was Kenny. And so she made 21 tackles. She missed 5, but 21 completed. 13 carries. What a grinder. 9 defenders beaten. What are you up to?
That's the stat that gets me. Yeah.
That's Portia Woodman-Whitcliffe numbers. What are you doing? 67 metres gained. She only conceded 1 turnover, but she also gave 5 offloads. So she's doing all that running, and she's also looking for people off her. She was, possessed.
I love that. She was possessed. I feel like our Lucy's are always possessed, like across the country. We've got possessed Lucy's. I love it. Makes for some great competition coming into
Oh my God.
But yeah,
you hate to think how the intensity of the first Blackfern camp is going to go, because that's going to be R.I.P. everybody in there. Can we? Yeah, we'll just sit on the sideline. Okay, number 8. Mia Anderson was unreal yesterday, but then we were like, Kaipo Olsen-Baker is unreal every week, so we had to make sure to look at both of them. Kaipo, though, like a quieter game for her, but still managed to get 116 metres gained. She's just crazy at it. 12 tackles she made, she missed 3. She won 2 turnovers, got a try. Like, she's all over the place. But Mia, she was just operating at a different level yesterday, wasn't she?
that's probably the best game I've seen Mia play in a long time. And credit to her in terms of she's had a little bit of a dysfunctional season, I guess. Like, she's been the starting 8, then she was dropped completely because of injury, which I've learnt. Then she came back, but she's only coming on off the bench. And, you know, she hasn't been consistently in that 8 jersey, which surprised me because I thought she was the Manawa 8. Yesterday, she proved she is the Manawa 8. 25 tackles, only missed 3, but, you know, completed 25, 16 carries. Of that, she made 58 metres, beat 5 defenders and 1 clean break, and she got a beautiful try as well. But we probably haven't even mentioned the big hit she put on Alana Bremner, which was just perfectly timed. But because of that, the work she was doing on and off the ball, but also the inspirational factor she gave to her team, she gets our Form 8 pick of the week.
And that's an all Manawa back row. And I think ultimately that was the difference for them. Because, like, you know, so often in rugby union, we talk about pivots, we talk about 9s and 10s in terms of steering game, and we often also attribute, like, tempo to halfback, but wow, can a loose forward trio make a big impact on that? Like, you can slow everything right down if you're causing trouble in there. You can make it go so much cleaner if you're keeping that platform nice and clean, all those rucks. So, yeah, I think, honestly, they were probably the secret sauce and part of the reason why they were able to get up yesterday. So good on them. Halfbacks, Les. Where did we land?
Yeah. Well, we did I guess for us, and looking at some of our stats there, we did look across all four, but for us it was Kalia Awa that took the cake, and I'll rattle off some of her stats. So 67 passes, probably around sort of second highest of the four there. Maya Joseph, a lot more passes, which we'd expect, 106. But Kalia made 6 tackles in comparison to 8 made by Maya and 7 made by Baylor. She made 7 carries, got 1 clean break, 1 defender beaten, and 38 metres, which was the most out of any of the halfbacks. And she also won 2 turnovers. So I thought for someone who has been coming off the bench for a couple of weeks now, she did really well and she had a great game. There was one moment there where she got a bit of an aha moment, aha lesson, and that was when all she had to do was give the pass, I think, to Patricia Malepo on the inside shoulder, and she didn't, and because of it, Cassie Siatanga just laid her out. Like, it was a good hit. So that's a bit of a maturity moment, maybe a learning moment for her, but overall I thought she had a good game.
And it's good for her because I think just like when we were talking about Afina and Renee last week needing to have a good one, it was time for Kalia to do the same, and so fantastic to see her. You know, she was given the start, which hasn't been the regular thing for her this season, and she took hold of it. So full credit. Outside her, though, we did actually look at their starting number 10, Kristen Cottrell, and we compared that against Te Raurewa Gapa because both of them were busy for their sides. Look, you're not going to pretend that Gap is going to get anywhere near as many passes because did they have as much ball? No, they did not. So, of course, Duffy loops are on that. And yes, by the way, an earlier callback, Kristen's maiden name was Duffel, which is why she's called Duffy, just so that we close that loop there. I know you were all wondering, so I just wanted to solve that for you. Now, Duffy also had a try assist. She made 4 tackles, missed 1, 5 carries, and it got a clean break off that. And also, great off the tee. God, she was good. Gappa, though, she just did everything she could with what she got. You know, she made 8 tackles clean. No miss for her yesterday. She made 8 carries as well and managed to get 1 defender beaten, 3 clean breaks off that. Like, she was doing everything she could to try and get the Poa on the front foot. 31 metres gained from those carries. She got the try. She did concede 2 of the turnovers. I don't think anyone in the Poa doesn't have a turnover conceded because, like we say, turnovers can also mean handling errors, and that is a reoccurring theme of my team. But yeah, Gappa put everything out there for her team, and I was impressed.
And I think a lot of the stuff that they did capitalise off revolved around her. Like, she made that one line break she made, and she did everything right, gave a beautiful pass into Raylene, and Raylene just dropped the ball. Like, that was a moment of, oh gosh. But Gappa had actually did amazing to get it to that position, and it should have been a try. I thought she had a great game, so good on her.
Good on you, girl. Now, we're looking at another Poa teammate on the left wing. And so, of course, that was another one in this match. They were running, obviously, opposite sides, but we had to look at them both. Aisha Letienga and Jamie Colossi. And, look, Jamie got the try. Defence was a bit, well, who did she have running at her? I'm trying to remember. Who did she have running at her? Was that Shaq? Would have been Shakira Baker. So she had 1 tackle and 3 missed ones there. She had 5 carries, of which she got 3 defenders beaten at a clean break off. 91 metres gained. A lot, obviously, there. But Aish, we talked about her defence last week. And look, it was pretty good again, you say, but she only made the 2 tackles. Her attack, though, 10 carries, 6 defenders beaten, 2 clean breaks, 93 metres. Like, she was just on one yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, she's on pretty much every week, really, eh? Like, in some way or another. And for me, and I said this on the panel yesterday, was for me, there's a few players in the Poa where something evolves around them, and that's Leila Sae, Iritana Hohaia, or Aish. So, yeah, no surprise to me that she had another good game. And I think we've mentioned numerous times now is put those girls into a team that's performing right across from 1 to 15 or 1 to 23. It's going to be interesting to see what they can create and the havoc that they can cause.
Let her at Canada. I can't wait. Speaking of Canada, we had a Canadian in the mix. Look at that for a segue. At 12 this week, because Shoshana, she caught all of our attention with that. She stepped like 4 people, it seemed, at one point there. Ultimately, though, when we looked at all the numbers across the board, it's the old mate from down south, Grace Brooker. She just had, a very busy game on attack there. She made 16 carries. She beat 2 defenders, and she got 78 metres for that work. When it came to defence, we were there or thereabouts, so the difference has to be that she picked up a try assist too and managed to win a couple of turnovers. So Grace, she's got to be in the inform team of the week.
Yeah.
Now, her... Like we were talking about these kind of combos that keep happening and pairing, that you made the call earlier that Maya Joseph, I don't think, has ever made it into the Inform 15 without Hannah King and vice versa. We generally see the Matatū midfield of Amy Duplessis and Grace Brooker coming in together, but... will that happen this week? Because we looked at her numbers against Merirangi Paul, and yet again, we're going there or thereabouts if we go down the line. Merirangi had 1 try assist. Their tackles, they made 11 each. Amy missed 1 more than Merirangi did. Amy made more carries than Merirangi did, 16 to 11. Defenders beaten, though. Merirangi 8 plus 2 clean breaks to Amy's 5 defenders beaten. Amy's metres, though, 108 off those 16 carries versus Merirangi's 48. So I guess that's also kind of how they run, though. Like, Merirangi tends to make the little break and look quite quickly to link up outside. When we're looking at turnovers, though, so handling, 4 times Amy coughed it up to Merirangi's 2. But as we have already established on this episode, if you get a naughty card for yourself, you're disqualified. So even though Amy had a great game, you're disqualified, Amy. It was a line call, we have to say. I mean, look, it was a yellow card for playing the ball out of the halfback's hands, I believe. But I feel like I see that not always consistently applied. Anyway, she's disqualified. So congratulations, Merirangi. You are the 13 of the week. What about the right wing, Les? Who took that one?
Yeah, so that was a close one as well, and it was only fair that we looked at both Tui and Palamo, who had good games for their teams yesterday, and probably because Palamo has played well all season. I mean, she's up against some of the world's best wingers, but she has held her own and done really well. Just comparing Tui and Palamo, their stats, they both got a try each. They both made 5 tackles. Ruby missed 2, Palamo missed 3, so just as pretty much same. Ruby made 8 carries. Of those 8 carries, gained 83 metres, 3 defenders beaten and 1 clean break. Palamo made 6 carries, 69 metres, 3 defenders beaten, 2 clean breaks. So, I mean, edges her in clean breaks, but doesn't gain as many metres. And yes, we could pull that apart to explain why that is. But based on the stats, based on what we've seen, that's what the pictures present. Palamo did concede 1 turnover. Ultimately, we thought with ball in hand, Ruby did appear to be more of a threat, probably quite a bit more busier than Palamo. So we have landed on Ruby as our form winger for this week, but we do want to give full credit to Winnie Palamo because she has been outstanding this year.
And like you say, in a game that is currently littered with phenomenal talent, particularly on the right wing, to be in there, and as someone that probably at the beginning of the season, people would not have been saying Winnie Palamo's name as loudly as they would be saying Caitlin Vahakolo, as loudly as they would be saying Portia Woodman-Whitcliffe. There's so many people that you're up against, so we want to make sure to give her flowers. Now, 15 of the week. Looking at the back there. Renee was pretty busy. And again, she's another great kicker because she got 4 conversions for the Manawa yesterday. The numbers, though, ultimately, when you're looking at them, it was the young gun from the Blues. For goodness sake, 8 carries, 4 defenders beaten, 2 clean breaks, 93 metres gained. Braxton Sorensen McGee, wowee. as a 15, I think the thing I really like about her is she's great at picking her insertion points. You know, whereas like that's how I love a 15 to play, where they're just kind of floating around in that line all the time and you're not sure when they're going to come in, and she'll come in and she'll go. And it's so much fun to watch when she's in full flight. So the attacking weapon that she is, congratulations, Brax, you're in there. All right. Also, shout out to her sister, by the way, who was one of the people, and I thought it was so sweet, on our social media, who replied when I was asking the question, because we had it on the team sheet this week, that there was only one halfback, given that Kalia Awa was named there, but technically there wasn't a second halfback picked up. Well, Brax's sister confidently, because of listening to our podcast, said, I think it will be Kristen Cottrell that will go to 9 and Roa Heidemont that will come into 10, and she was correct. So full credit to you, our listener Dakota. You've figured it out. You've learnt from us. Well done, you. Okay. Shall we talk about this final Hawaii? Here it comes. It's going to be massive. Like, we knew from obviously last week that it was going to be these two. People probably predicted from the beginning of the season that it was going to be the Blues. They were the favourites coming into this competition, and they have taken that label on and worn it with pride, because you cannot discount actually what a challenge it can be to hold that high standard when everyone else plays their best game against you and they're all trying to chase you down and you've got to keep finding other levels to go. They've been fantastic and have been happy to hit it. They started the season, one of the reasons why they were a favourite. I'm just going to run through a bunch of stats to set some scene here, Les. Highest retention rate, I've said that before, 70% of their squad from last season. Also highest in terms of coaching and management staff, from what I understand. So backroom matching that on-field stuff there. They only had one loss in the round robin. That was obviously that round 5 upset against with Matatū taking the spoils there. They have won 4 games by 15 points or more. Like, that's huge. If they win big. They have also had, because of this, the highest number of tries scored this season with 33. They have the highest number of clean breaks with 55. They have the highest metres gained with 3,792 this season, which is averaging at 4.4 metres per carry that they're getting on that go forward. They have the highest scrum success, which I'm not necessarily sure people would have predicted for them coming into this season, because obviously there was the Manawa Mike down the road with all of those Black Ferns in there, and also Matatū has prided themselves on set piece for a while, but the Blues nailing 98% scrum success this season. They have the lowest lineouts though, so that's going to be a point of practice, I think, this week, with 74% success there. Earlier in the season, discipline was a real problem for them. They have timed this up though, so congratulations to them. The one that interests me is that they have scored first in all but one of their games, so they're great out the gate. Not only that, they've led at halftime in 4. They've had a draw once, and they've only been behind once this season at halftime, so they're good starters. They've managed to chase down a deficit in the last 20 just once. The other time they couldn't do it, which was against Matatū the other week. But they have averaged 6 players in our inform 15 each week, and that's how they've been on top. The Blues, may we present them to you. What do you make of all of that, Les?
You know what? I think there's a couple of stats in there too that you could argue would have gone their way if they'd played their strongest team against Matatū last week. You know, like, we have to put things in context here, especially for our overseas listeners who maybe don't know. But last week, they didn't play their strongest starting lineup. Their purpose of that game last week was exposure and handling pressure. And they got both of those. Yes, they didn't win, but they still put up a hell of a fight and went right through to the 80th minute. They were fighting hard. And that was without certain players starting. So, you know, I still think they are clear favourites. I mean, you've mentioned that. Clear favourites going into this game this weekend. I think yesterday's game showed that there's still some issues around their kick strategy. They really were traditionally, you never see the Blues kick it from their 22. They often run it, and that's what makes them so exciting, and they do it really well. Yesterday, they were trying to kick it, and I wonder if that was a strategy to prepare for next week, knowing that Matatū are an 80-minute team, and there may be times where the Blues have to kick themselves out of trouble. So it didn't pay off for them yesterday. It just did not look right. You know, they wanted to run it, but they were trying something different, and there'll be learnings taken from that. But yeah, I mean, some of these stats are interesting too. Like, and you'll probably rattle off soon what it looks like for Matatū on the flip side. But man, they would go into this final pretty confident, knowing they've dominated this competition. They took one upset, but it wasn't with their best team.
And not only that, like, they actually have named a kind of more experimental the last 2 weeks, right? Because even yesterday was a little not their tried and true, because Portia was on the bench. So that was a surprise. Like we said, Kaliawa was the only, proper 9 that they'd named. So they were still playing a little bit, which feels to me like they know they're playing games a little bit here too, right? Like, yeah, you've seen what we could do week 1 through 4, but these last, week 5, week 6, where we're starting to really do that homework coming into the final, they're kind of like, I don't know, which one are we going to do? And so there's a little bit of the tactical part of that too, in terms of not showing your full hand, that is interesting.
One thing I think is going to be interesting in terms of selection this week is who they actually do run with as their first and second 5s. Because if Ruahei starts at second 5, you're probably going to see, because Kristen Cottrell on the bench, which means you're going to have your full force of Brunt, Vahakolo, Woodman, Whitcliffe, all on at the same time. But on Saturday, Duffy threw in a curveball, hitting 7 out of 7 in her conversions. And in finals footy, that's critical. Now, knowing that Ruahei Demant is probably sitting around the 56% mark in her kicking conversions, that's a bit risky, right, in a final? So has Duffy just earned her position in the final because of what she did kicking that many conversions yesterday?
It's a great question, and if you look at the team they have named, though, they've generally put Ruahei in at 10 when they have played Matatū. I believe both games they've played this season, they've picked Lou as their starting 10, and they've put that, the 2 Blackfern 10s up against each other. So will they, zig on their zag and go with Duffy? And I think you make a great case there, because, yeah, when it comes to the finals, the tension, all of that, you need to take every single point you can get. And particularly, we know the Blues can score a lot, but if they're not getting the full change from those, journeys across the try line, they need to get the conversions too. Just particularly if we look at the real point, we said this team is a team of fantastic at the start. They'll come out full hiss, they'll take the lead into half time, but they're playing a team that's the exact opposite. That is fantastic at chasing one down, at grinding it out, particularly in the back 20. So they're going to want whatever score they nail in that opening stanza to be as big as possible to make that chase even harder for the Matatū. So yes, let me give you all of the stats and lay them out just like we did before. So Matatū, rather than a favourite, have kind of been the dark horse of this season. We spoke about this right back in episode 1. And I believe it was Les, who said, look, they seem to just be focusing on themselves and they're not too worried about people not talking about them. Well, we all are now, because they are a team that managed to retain more or less the pretty good number, 63% of their team from last year. But I think what was telling was the players they didn't hold on to, they called home. They got Hanger King, they got Fia Laikong, they got Kelson McCook, all back from Poa this year. And the others that they bought, they managed to bring up local. So while they might have had a bit of turnover, it felt more planned, I think, than other regions did. Now, that's also because they've got a well-known coaching group in that area. Obviously, Whitney Hansen is the head, Blair Baxter back in that combination as well. That's experience that isn't invaluable for rugby in that region. It's led them to a season that's seen them only pick up 2 losses. So they had the round 3 loss to the Blues and the round 6 loss, obviously, yesterday to the Manawa. They have generally had tighter games, though, that they've really had to fight for the wins that they've got. They've had 3 matches this season that have been either won or lost by 6 to 8 points. So right in there in all of them. They're third on the number of tries scored, so that's probably reflective of those tighter score lines. So they've got 25 tries they've scored this season. They're last on the number of clean breaks, which is also interesting, right? Currently 36 for their team. I mean, that's a big difference between 36 and 55 that they're playing against at the Blues. But they're second on metres gained, so they grind. That's how they do it. They pump their legs when they're in contact because they actually have the highest average gain of 4.7 metres per carry. So their total overall, 3,395 metres this season. They have a scrum success of 91%, a line-out success that's better than the Blues at 80%. They're slow starters, though. So 4 out of 6 times their opposition has scored first. Only twice they have gone into halftime with a lead this season. But they're big finishes. Twice they've staged a second half comeback, and 5 out of 6 games they've outscored their opposition in the back 20. They are average, just behind the Blues, 5 players a week in Form 15. It's an interesting match. We've got kind of the two bookends of the competition. They're perfectly balanced against each other to be coming up in this collision, right? Like, we couldn't really design two better opposites to come together.
100%. I think additional to that, these seasoned coaches are going to have a significant role to play in this final, right? What is the strategy that they're going with to combat the opposition? We've seen a 2023, a bit of an upset, right? 2023, when Matatū won it for the first time. I've said this a couple of times. I think that Manawa got out-coached. Yes, there was a kick at the end, but the way that Matatū won that was purely understanding their opposition and countering some of their strengths. It's going to be a great game. I'm excited for this final. Those stats, I mean, it really does tell the story that we've been harping on about, right? You've got a team of individual X-Factor players versus an X-Factor team. So, I'm excited.
It's going to be so good. Are you going to be there, Liz?
Well, this is the thing, right? I don't know. Okay. They haven't released who is going to be the commentators for the final, so we're waiting for those comms from Sky, but I'd imagine it'll probably be the big dogs, they'll bring in the big dogs to call that game. Otherwise, I might just be there as a spectator, which will be quite nice. Take my family along and watch that final.
Fantastic. I mean, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be having to probably watch it on my phone at a whānau function. This is how I often... Not the first time they're used to me. It's my sister's 40th, so I'm going to have to be a beer in one hand and a phone in the other to make sure I know what the heck score's going on, and then watch the replay the next day, because goodness sake, you wouldn't want to miss it. The fact that it's getting to play, the at that 7 o'clock time slot, that's also exciting, right? We actually get to have the main, the main event when nobody's curtain raiser. We're the show in town.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. I mean, it'll be the second time that the Blues will host a final. Obviously, they hosted last year's final and won that, and it will be another opportunity for a team to potentially go back to back. Now, if the Blues win this, they will be the first team in Aupiki history to go back to back. So that's pretty cool.
But then also, Matatū, they've proved that they can go somewhere else and steal it, because that's what they did in 2003. I mean, 2023, because it was obviously the Manawa who were hosting that year, and Matatū came and spoiled the party at FMG Stadium. So they're quite comfortable in playing those pressure matches away from their home fans. And you also have to say, though, they've got a great travelling contingent. Like, I feel like maybe better than anyone else, I'm always hearing Matatū fans in the crowd. So they'll be there. There'll be full noise ready to bring the two. I cannot wait. All right, we will be back next week, and we are excited to tell you, because obviously we'll be unpacking all the action of that final, but we're excited to tell you we're going to have a special guest, because what you might have forgotten is that we actually have a really exciting thing that's happening next week too, which is, for the first time, the winner of this match will be playing the winner of the Australia Super W. But let's be honest, team, we've been so busy being here in our Super Rugby Aupiki bubble, we need some help to understand what the heck's been going on in Super W. So we've managed to call a friend from across the ditch who's going to come and join us and give us some insight ahead of that big one, and something that we hope is going to be a sign of things to come, the crossover between these two competitions. So yes, plenty to look forward to this week and even more to look forward to next week. But yeah, we'll be back with you then.
I can't wait. Our guest is exceptional as well. She's an outstanding advocate for women's rugby. She's an outstanding Australian representative, maybe even plays herself. I wonder who she is.
Questions to be answered. You'll have to tune in.
See you then.